Hi, welcome to the Multi-Unit Mastery Monday and this video series on the Multi-Unit Franchising Conference Review. Today, or in this session, we are going to do part 8. Wow, that's a lot of parts for this conference review. And this is the last session for this video series. And today we are going to talk about the last session that was all about growth in 2022 and beyond. This was a panel of 4 multi-unit, some of them multi-brand franchisees that shared all of the focus on what are they looking for this year and in the future for them to grow their organization and their portfolio. And one of the things that they mentioned was that there are many ways for you to grow. First of all, growth is really all about increasing the revenue of your business. And how you do that is many ways. Number one, it could just be organic through your existing business, simply having, more sales in the units you already have. That is one of the ways that you can increase or grow your business through increased sales in your existing units. Other ways that you can increase the revenue in your business is by either acquiring or opening new units in your business and in your current brand. Another one is obviously opening or acquiring new units in different brands than the one that you already own at, which would be mergers and acquisitions. Here's where you can be looking for whether single units or packages. Obviously, all these franchisees, being that they are large franchisees, they are looking for packages to purchase. Something else is that you can also capitalize on real estate opportunities. And this is going to be a topic that actually was mentioned by every single one of the people on the panel. And I think is one of the takeaway big messages from this particular session. And then, of course, you can buy units, but you can also divest some of the units. Some of the units that you have, that you own, that may not be performing as well as you would like them to, and you can sell them to somebody else that may be able to do a better job than what you're doing, having them in your portfolio. And of course, getting into different brands, even different industries than the ones that you are initially a franchisee on. So the name of the game, when it came to this particular session, is you want to increase your business or grow your business, which is basically bottom line, increasing revenue. And there are many different ways to do it. And it is really what works best for you, for your business goals, and for the brand that you own, currently. And so there were 4 panelists. I'm going to share some of the nuggets that I got from each of the panelists in this particular session. The first one was Donna Lafrida, who is an 80 unit multi-unit franchisee for Dennis. She is a single brand focused from a very long time, and all she has ever owned and opened is Dennis restaurants. Apparently, she grew up in the organization from operations and eventually acquiring, her first franchise. And from then she grew all the way to 80, loves the brand, and does, really successful. For her current goal is cash flow. How much cash flow can I get out of the business that I have? And her focus of growth is all about the cash flow. So if she can acquire a unit that is cash positive, or a positive, the cash flow is equal or better than her 16 units, is something that she's always interested in and looking. She has grown from single state to multi-state organization and is open for growth as long as it is in the same brand. And her number one focus is cash flow. One of the things that she realizes with cash flow dining is, as you can imagine, her organization was hurt significantly due to COVID, and to the point that there were several weeks in which she had a lot of units closed for an extended period of time, and she really took a big hit. Now, obviously, being an experienced operator, she was able to quickly adjust to the existing, situation, and came out of the other side, not intact, but at least in a place where she can continue her success and her story when it comes to her organization. One of the things that she says that she looks for as she's growing is language in either a franchise agreement or lease agreement that makes it easy for her to sell any unit that she acquires, because you never know what's going to happen with the area, with the location, with your plans. Maybe that location does not work in your plans, and if you're stuck either because of a franchise agreement or because of a lease agreement, that you need to make sure that there's language in there that would allow you to sell any unit that you acquire. And and you have to work through that with the landlord and the franchisor, assuming the franchisor approves any transfers or sales always. But you need to be able to get out of the lease, if you are able to then sell based on that. One of the things that she talked about was that for her, land control is one of her primary focuses right now. She mentioned how earlier in her life, she's older now, and how earlier in her life, it was all about growth and opening new units and seeing how far and how fast she can grow. But now, as she's getting older, she said, you know what? I am more into owning and controlling the land, meaning that many, if not all, the growth that she's doing is in a way that she can buy the land, own the property, and then operate her business, thinking that in the long term, at some point in time, she may want to sell the business but still own the land and therefore the leases, which will then give her the ability to have that cash flow in quote unquote retirement if she ever retires. So that's something that she said that it was very important, and something that she said that if she was to ever consider a different brand, which at this point probably not likely, but if she ever was, that one of the things that she has learned by being in this one brand through many CEOs and leadership teams, that the leadership of the franchise that you're going to be doing business with is going to be very, very important, because that leadership team can either drive you to success or drive you down the cliff. And she's seen ups and downs in that brand for that exact reason. And so one of her recommendations to the people that attended is, as you are looking and exploring potential brands for growth, really look into who the leaders are, what kind of culture they have, and what is their performance and relationship with the franchisees so far. Something that was very, very important. Right now, going back to the owning and the controlling of the land, she shared with the audience that currently her franchise business is just as successful or as valuable as her real estate business, meaning that her real estate, like, even though she is in the franchise business, she's also in the real estate business, and at this point they have equal value. And that is the importance of really getting into the land and owning the land, so if at any point in time you want to sell the franchise, you still have the asset that will give you that cash flow in the future. Obviously, with her being full service restaurant, a Dennis restaurant, right now banking loans and access to capital is a challenge. If you don't have a history of success, being able to access that cash for you to be able to grow is challenging at this time in the industry. It may change in the near future as we start looking and leaving COVID behind us, but at this point, if that's something that you're looking at, a casual dining restaurant, full service, just be aware that that's going to be one of the challenges that you're going to have. And having a relationship with your banker or whoever you are going to be having that access to capital to is going to be very important for you to be able to not only access it, but access it in terms that are favorable and doable for you and your organization. Some of the things that she mentioned that have been the secrets for her success is, the ability to, as she has been growing, to provide her team members opportunities for growth. And people are looking for that. If you want to have a vehicle to retain people and attract great people, you have to be growing. Like, not growing is not an option at this point if you want to keep a positive culture and environment and the staffing levels that you need. Growing is the way to go, and giving people opportunities to grow with you is going to be critical. Something else that she mentioned is that so far she has experienced a 12.7% increase in cost of goods. And I could totally see that. I know for a fact, at least one of my clients He was doing a food cost analysis from August of last year until I think it was March when he looked at it, and he noticed that there was a 20% increase in cost of goods. So if any of you out there, if you have a business or a franchise and you're not looking at your cost of goods literally every 30 days to then, if necessary, adjust pricings or at least be aware of why your bottom line is eroding, it's going to be a challenge. So you have to be, aware of it, analyze it, and then adjust accordingly, whether it's increasing your prices or adjusting in other areas so that you can protect your bottom line. So that's one of the things that she recommended when she shared with the audience. The next person in the panel was Eric Danver, and he is an ex Papa John's franchisee, sold all the units, and has acquired Hand and Stone massage brand and has been growing with it ever since. And one of the reasons he said he shared that he did that divestiture of the Papa John's brand and got into the Hand and Stone massage is several. Number one is, for him, in his perspective, it's easier to hire in that new brand that he has. Not only that, he did not have control of the market where he was with Papa John's, and he wanted to have control of that market, which is when he went to the new brand. He was able to protect the market, and so that he can ensure that he will have not only the market, but he will be able to grow in the speed and length that he wanted. And so for those of you that are considering growing and really wanting to be multi-unit and have the ability to grow, having the negotiation of controlling a market is going to be important, because one of the things that you may find is that other franchisees might be in the area. They may have captured markets that now you don't have access to. And the only way that you're going to be able to grow in that market is by going to other cities and maybe even other states, which means that your operations, your management is not going to be as effective and efficient as it could be if you had all your units close by in one place. So consider that, which is one of the reasons why watching and looking for emerging brand opportunities is going to be very important. For a long time, a lot of people just went to the big boy brands, the mature brands, right? The ones that we know all about, that have been around for a long time. The challenge with that is that becoming a multi-unit operator in those brands is more challenging than ever, because the areas are already taken. And so here's where the big opportunity comes with emerging brands. If you want to, if growing into a multi-unit, and is your goal. And he said, like, when you are acquiring, capital expenditures is just the name of the game, meaning that sometimes you might be acquiring a business that you might then transform into your brand, acquisitions. And when you do that, usually people that are looking for sale may not keep the locations in the tip-top condition that you want them to. So just be aware that if you're going to be acquiring something, that the capital expenditures is just a reality of it, between air conditionings, plumbing. I mean, who knows, right? And if that is something that you as the business owner is responsible based on the lease, then just be aware that that's going to be, something that comes along with that. Which is why he said, look, if you are able to negotiate, upon an acquisition or taking over somebody's lease, if you are able to negotiate with the landlord, do so, especially when it comes to expenditures of repair and maintenance like HVAC, so that you don't end up with those big surprises as you're taking over. And so that's where his recommendations and comments. Again, he's focused the same way that Donna said. Her focus right now is unit cash flow and land ownership. For Eric, he said that his focus is being able to control the market. And so for him, his focus is being able to just have growth of that one brand that he really enjoys, and that he's able to grow the one market so that he can have his organization nearby. The last two panelists are multi-unit, multi-brand of Mumbos, if you remember how we call them. And they have a little bit of a interesting take on all this. Nate Garn was the first one. He owns Little Caesars, Dunkin', Red Robin, Wingstop, Jersey Bikes. He has over 180 units currently. And he said that it's nice to be able to grow and acquire businesses when that have long time before renewal. One of the things that you should know if you are new to the franchise world is that as you become a franchisee, you're going to notice that in the franchise agreement, there are certain requirements of remodeling every so many years. Some franchise brands are every 5 years, other ones every 8, other ones every 10, some of them are every 3. So one of the things for you to note is, especially if you're acquiring franchises, is find out in that lease agreement how far you are from that commitment to remodel, because when that time comes along, then, and if you take over this franchise 6 months away from that, that means that in 6 months you're going to have a huge capital expenditure that you may have not considered when you were thinking about acquiring it, because of that required remodel for the brand. So heads up and be aware of that. He says acquisitions usually end up becoming high capital expenditure investments. And if you have taken that into consideration, then it might still be a good investment, but just make sure that you do your due diligence and find that out. Also, lease terms, you want to make sure not only, when you have to remodel based on the franchise agreement, but also need to be very knowledgeable of what happens with the lease terms of the things that you are acquiring and taking over, because this might be an opportunity for you to renegotiate or understand that the time left in that location may not be enough for you to get the return on your investment, and the likelihood, the possibility of being able to get another lease is high, but not guaranteed. So he says that they liked, again, to do acquisitions of newer brands, basically because they want to grow the market. Same thing as Eric. Eric obviously is focused in one particular brand, but Nate said, look, whatever brands we're looking at, we want to be able to look at market-wide growth. And so for that reason, they really are more focused on newer emerging brands so that they can do that growth long term that they want. And like Donna, cash flow, cash flow, cash flow. They are cash flow development focused, meaning that every unit has to give them a certain minimum amount of cash flow, cash and cash return, so that they can be successful or accomplish their business goals. And the last panelist was Roland Spungberg, and he's also a multi-unit, multi-brand Mambo franchisee. And he has brands from El Pollo Loco, Wendy's, Denny's, Krispy Kreme, and Blaze Pizzas. He has 380 units in those brands. And what some of the tips that he mentioned is be aware that remodel is part of the business, that you have to invest in it. And the biggest things to look at when you're remodeling and to find out from the franchisor is what is the expected return on investment. Having been obviously in a few franchise brands from the franchisor side, I know that every time there was a franchise remodel requirement, that there was always a study of what would be the return. And the way that was calculated is obviously there would be remodels done usually in corporate owned units, and we will measure pre, post, and relative change on the sales and the profitability, and then we will know what will be the return on the investment on those remodels. And I will tell you from having seen those firsthand that remodels do pay off. Now, depending on how much due diligence and care the brand did on defining what the remodel should be, why it should be that way, how much is being spent on what, it will determine what will be that return. And so be aware that yes, remodeling will give you increased revenue and results. How much, that's something that you need to find out from the franchisor. What was the experience, and just be prepared for that. And there might be franchisors that they just want to have a remodel but may have not done this work, and then you'll know that, and that will be a whole other different conversation, right? And so something else that they shared is, of course, the expansion is based on unit economics. And so for them, knowing what the unit economics is for that particular package, let's say, understanding what the business is, they will know whether they can improve upon that existing unit economics so that they can not only get a good deal, but know that good deal will actually, give them better returns, because they know that as an operator, they can actually make better results than the average franchisee. Every brand concept is different. They all have different, risks. And that's something that you need to know. And so one of the things that they say, that while they do like, um, uh, to look at market wide opportunities, that they don't really like to go and open a brand, which is different from Nate. Nate likes newer brands that they can then own the market, while Roland is the opposite. He said they don't really like to be the first ones to introduce that brand in that market, because they don't really know, if you don't have any history of what the reaction is for that particular brand in the market, then you don't know whether that's going to be successful or not. So they are a little bit more risk adverse when it comes to taking a new brand into a new market. And he said that, look, you can have growth through doing delivery very good. If you consider delivery when you are choosing locations, meaning that you make sure that there's a spot for the delivery person or people to come in and out easily, and being able to service your customers, that channel could be tremendous. And you know what? I agree with him. Obviously, if you know anything about me, you will know that I was almost 20 years with Domino's Pizza. I understand the power of delivery, and I understand how it can be translated into other brands. Clearly, COVID forced many brands to explore into that, and many of the brands that explored are and remain in the delivery channels. And so one of the things is as you're growing, are you considering that when you're choosing your locations? Because if you don't have the space to accommodate those delivery drivers and that channel to provide excellent service, you may be hurting yourself when it comes to growth and revenue. And the last comment that I'm going to do, that he shared, going back to what Donna said, and I believe that Nate also mentioned, is that they want to own as much land as possible. And he said that he rather go slower, but being able to own the real estate, because again, he wants to have exactly what Donna has, which is a franchise business and a real estate business. Because eventually you are able to then divest your franchise, but you retain the control of the land, and therefore ensure yourself a long-term cash flow for you and your business. So that was a very interesting session. Those are the top nuggets that I got from that session. And I would say that the biggest things are, that you don't always need to look at the mature brands, that there are emerging brands that have great potential, and again, the ability for you to control the market. Number two, own the land, own the land, own the land. And number three, be aware of the lease terms and the franchise agreement terms, because if you don't pay attention to those, they can cost you a lot of money in the short and long term. So that was it. It was very interesting. None of them said anything about being apprehensive about growth. To the contrary, the amount of growth that has been experienced in the franchise world in the last 2 years has been tremendous. It doesn't show like it's going to slow down. What it has, though, is that it has made people smarter about how and where they grow. And so definitely the franchise growth for 2022 and beyond is not stopping. It is going. People are excited about the opportunities, and they're just being smarter about how they do it. And multi-unit, obviously, hence the name of the conference, is the way to go. So that's it for this last session. I hope that you enjoyed this video series on the Multi-Unit Franchising Conference for 2022. If you did, give us a thumbs up. If you are in any of our platforms watching this live or a recording, or if you want to come over to our YouTube channel, give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel so that you can see videos like this, or you can see this whole video series and learn everything that was covered during the franchising conference, and all the other great best practice videos that we have in our channel that have in the past and that are coming in the future. And the only way that you're going to capture them and not miss them is if you subscribe to our channel. Also, if you want to learn how we at the American Franchise Academy can help you be successful and implement a lot of the best practices that these franchisees shared about, understanding your business to a whole new level, grow into a multi-unit, maybe a multi-brand organization, train your district managers in being able to delegate operations so that you can have that financial and time freedom that you so desire and deserve. come over to our website at www.americanfranchiseacademy.com and learn how we here at the Academy can help you be successful and accomplish your growth goals. Thank you for being with me in this video series, and we'll see you next week with a whole new set of knowledge and information, tips and best practices so that you can be successful. Thank you for being with me today, and we'll see you next week, same time, same place. Bye-bye.